Good morning, team. Thank you for joining us. We hope you had a great Labor Day weekend. It's Tuesday, September 7th. I'm Amy Kaur, and I'm joined by Kevin Van Eck, and we're live out of the Goose Island office. I'm very excited because we are back with another agent interview this morning. So make sure to grab your coffee, your tea, or your drink of choice, and let's jump into another episode of Coffee with Amy and Kevin.
Yes, good morning, Amy. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Take a sip of your coffee. We've got a great interview coming today. Like Amy mentioned, we're going to talk about everything from social media to getting started in the business to self-doubt. And so no matter how long you've been in the business, no matter what you're producing, this is going to be a great interview where we're all going to be able to learn from someone very special here at App Properties.
That's right, Kevin. I am so excited to welcome Keki Cannon out of our Winnetka office. Keki has not even been in the business for an entire year, but she is already creating great momentum. So we are really excited to talk with her this morning to hear about how she's creating success in the business. So Keki, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you. Thanks for taking the time with us and being willing to share with everybody. I think to get started, as Amy mentioned, you're relatively new in the business. It's really just over 11 months, going on a year as of October. And previous to this, you had a successful staging business. And if we look at the dates and we go back, this means you started during the pandemic, right? When there was a lot of uncertainty. What were your thoughts jumping into real estate in October of 2020?
I mean, I was excited, but I was nervous. There wasn't a hesitancy, but there was a nervousness because I had no idea how I was going to start a new business, a new career, and no one was leaving their houses. No, I had to meet people, everything. I just knew I needed to find a brokerage, and then I was going to figure it out from there.
I love it. Well, you've obviously done a pretty good job. So I know that you've sold just over 2 million in homes or transactions already. You've got another, I think, 1.2 million pending. And I know right now you are actively working with clients, helping them to buy and sell. So what did you do to get yourself ramped up so quickly? And, a lot of times we wonder kind of how the pipeline goes, especially for somebody new in the business. Were you working by referral, or was a lot of this by proactively prospecting, doing open houses, and trying to get, business the way a lot of new agents, have to at first?
Yeah. So, I actually just closed on another one today. So it's almost 3 now. And yeah. But I guess to kind of answer that in a couple parts was, when I first started in October a year ago, those first couple months were just spent in training, learning certain things until almost the new year. And one of the things we talked about was like those 33 touches and getting your sphere together and working your sphere. And granted, in the middle of this global pandemic, the only way to get your name out there was through direct mail, was through snail mail, and was through like Facebook. And so during October, November, December, January, those first 4 months were just from home. And I had a mailing out to my sphere almost every 2 weeks. To like my top 150 in my area, and then always kind of posting things on Facebook. And my first 2 transactions or clients were a referral, and I know for 100% because of those 33 touches, because of those direct mails, because I never saw those people in person who referred me, because we weren't seeing each other. And then all the rest of my business has come from after the new year, started coming in and talking to brokers and other colleagues doing their open houses. And that was the only way at that point that I kind of knew. And, one quick example I have was that I was doing an open house in Wilmette. And a gentleman comes in like on a mission, like he came straight to me and he's like, what's this price? Well, what's this listed at? And I was like, well, listed at this amount and da, 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 da. And he had like his 5 questions he had asked me. And then he's just like, well, why'd you price it at this point? I was like, well, the listing agent did her research and comps and and he's like, well, show me the house. And I was like, okay, let's go. And I gave him his tour and all this stuff. And as we're kind of finishing that open house on a Sunday, I was like, I kind of had that gut feeling like he wasn't looking to buy it, but just kind of maybe a nosy neighbor. And finally, I was like, well, are you looking to downsize? What are you doing? Are you working with anyone? He's like, I live a couple houses down and we're thinking of listing our house. And I was like, okay, are you working with someone? And he's like, no, my wife knows a couple people, but we haven't called anyone yet. And I was like, look, if you could please sign in with your real phone number, I will give you a call this week. And, it doesn't take anything for me to come out and do a, evaluation of your house, and we can just talk. If you have more questions, because I could see you have questions. And I called him, and I went in, and that was one of my first listings in Wilmette. So those open houses are not just to grab buyers, but to grab potential neighbors who are walking in.
I'm so glad you said that, because a lot of times we focus on open houses in terms of unrepresented buyers, right? And that's a perfect example of a nosy neighbor being someone that actually turns into business. So right. Great. I'm really glad you said that. One thing you said also was that you had a plan for direct mail and that you used Facebook. So let's dig in a little more on social, because I know you're active on social. Yeah. We follow you, Coffee with Amy and Kevin, and I know I and Amy personally follow you as well. Do you have a plan for that, just like you did for direct mail, or is it, as you're feeling it, you tend to post?
No, there's a complete plan. There's a whole strategy behind it. And I always say, when I get asked, I've been doing it for a while, for almost 8 years or so. And it's not random. I use another app called Planalay that has it planned out almost a couple months. And when I can add in things, like if I had a closing, I'll pop it in and you can move it in and figure out your schedule. But I follow the magic number of 3s that most Instagrammers do, which is, you pick your 3 topics and you alternate. So my 3 topics are real estate. And then my personal is that I love cooking. So there'll be something about cooking and recipes. And then my 3rd are tips, staging tips, design tips, home tips. Everything personal, and I'll alternate that how I post. And I try to post 3 times a week, never on weekends and never on Fridays, because those have bad engagement numbers. So I post Monday through Wednesday, and the number 1 engagement time is actually Thursday evening. So I'll usually always post on a Thursday evening. And I alternate those 3 topics. And then all the personal, but you maybe once in a blue moon, we'll see one of my kids on the feed, on what I call the portfolio, but you will see my kids, my family, my house, my dog, everything in the stories every day, almost all day, from the bad and the ugly and the good days and the bad days. And that's how you kind of keep the people, your friends, your families, and your followers that you've never met, and hopefully potential clients, intrigued and with you and relatable. So the feed is planned, is scheduled out. And so there's not a stress of having to post at an instant. And then in stories, you just relax and you just be you.
I love it, because I have been following you on Facebook and Insta, and you share a lot of stories. And as we talked about, earlier, is it gets you, it makes you very relatable. So I want to ask you this. There are a lot of agents out there that are really hesitant about, really jumping in and using social media really consistently in their business. So what would be 2 tips you would give those agents that are hesitant about jumping in and using social media?
Great. I love this question, because here agents have asked, and talking to them, I got the feeling from a couple that were like, well, I don't know how to start, or I don't know how to put myself in stories. I don't like to be in front of the camera, and da, da, da. And I was like, you're saying that most likely because you're worried what other people are going to think. I know that my entire family follows me, including my children. I know my mom follows me, and we were laughing earlier that my mom says almost daily, like the only way she knows what's happening with her grandchildren and me is through Instagram. So she has to stay on top of it. And I know there's a lot of hopeful potential clients and people I don't know. And the best advice I got years ago was, what all those people think of me is none of my business. And the second I finally accepted that, I was able to show up every day on social media. And so my number one advice is, it's none of your business what they think of you. Just do it, get out there. And then the number two kind of goes along with that, is to stay authentic. And I know people hear that all the time as a social media tip, but it's not about just talking in your own voice and trying to be yourself. It's showing the authentic side to your life and to what you do. So for example, when it comes to real estate, it's not every day is a successful closing. It's not every day there's an under contract. It's not every day like I got a new client. I've had a deal already fall apart, and I didn't hide it. I got on stories and I cried and I was devastated and didn't know what to do next. And then people were DMing like, it's going to be okay. You got this, Keki. People I didn't even know, and family and friends. And I was like, yeah, I got this, guys. We're going to find another buyer. And a couple of days later, get another buyer. That deal, and I was like, we got another buyer. It's going to happen. This is going to stay. And everyone kind of DMing back again, like, I knew you could do it, da da da. And then DMing them back, like, thanks for believing in me. Don't forget, when you're ready to sell, you call me. You work it in there. But that's like what people mean about being authentic, showing the not so pretty side, showing that things fall apart and showing that you have bad days, because unfortunately people thrive on that and that makes you more relatable.
That's why everyone likes reality TV, right? Or whatever reality is.
Right.
You mentioned, don't worry about what other people think of you. So we asked people what they thought of you. So on that note, the good news is you've got a great reputation. In fact, around the office, word on the street is that you've created a lot of great relationships with colleagues. How has that played into your success, if it has? And then also, how did you do that? How have you been able to create such great relationships with colleagues?
100%. It has played into building my business in real estate. And I guess I'll kind of answer it backwards. Was once finally in the new year, and I was done with training, and I was like, okay, new year, new resolution. Like, I'm going to go into the office. And I treated real estate and this new career as what it is, a business change, a career where I needed to respect it. And every Monday through Friday, I get up, I shower, drop off my kids at work or at school, and show up here and treat it like, not just like a 9 to 5, because trust me, as you guys probably know, real estate's like 7 days a week, 24/7, but coming here and putting my face in front of everyone and meeting people. And as I was meeting agents, a lot of who I knew their names, there was even probably like a little, what's the saying? Like when you meet someone famous, you have a little like.
When you're starstruck?
Yeah, I was meeting like agents, like, oh, hi, I'm so-and-so. I was like, oh my God, I know who you are. Yeah. But as I was meeting agents here, and I remember the time I met Mary Grant, she says, hi, I'm Mary, nice to meet you. And then she was like, if you have any questions or if you ever need help, just reach out. And I was like, I need help, like right now. And she pulled up a chair next to the desk and helped me through something. And so that clearly, obviously, that has helped me. But at the same time, I have let them know that if ever they need anything, I'm here. And they see me here. And just even like last week, I was here and someone needed something. and the phone call was made and I was where they needed me to be within 5 minutes. So I think just, it has 100%. I hope I answered that, but like 100% has played everything into building relationships.
I love it because I am such a big believer of getting in the office, and that creating relationships with your colleagues is a really big part of creating your success. And that office in Winnetka, obviously I know it well, has just some really great people who all do really want to collaborate and see everybody win, which is so great. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about being new and just sort of jumping right in, which I think you've done really a great job of doing. But we also know that sometimes when we jump right into something new, we're bound to make a few mistakes along the way. So I wanted to see if you had any mistake you feel you made, but has been really helpful, kind of in your growth as you move forward in this business.
Well, I've made a ton of mistakes. Some I probably should just keep to myself. And then like obviously little things here and there that you try to like fix right away, or you go running to Thomas, like, Thomas, help, I just made a mistake. But I recently had one that when I saw that question, I was like, oh, this is it. Like, life-changing mistake that I hope, or I know I won't repeat, was listening to my gut and having the guts to listen to my gut and speak up. I had an amazing closing with a previous buyer with a proper rate lender, and it was flawless. I mean, I felt like it was flawless. I'm sure that she was going through stuff, but she never let it seep through, and it was a smooth close. And so I have it like up here, what a lender should be. And I got the next buyer who came with a lender, and I asked for their information so I could call, introduce myself. And from the moment of that phone call to emails, and it wasn't proper rate, it was a company I've never heard of. And instantly there was just something that didn't feel right. There was errors in documents. There was a lot going on. And when the next time I saw my client, I kind of shyly was hesitant in saying, this isn't feeling right. I just want this to go smooth for you. I don't know if this is going to work. And they just didn't want to deal with the headache at that time. I was like, okay, no problem. We'll just continue. Looking back, my gut told me it wasn't going to be easy or smooth. And I should have, at that point in time, advised my client better, based on my little experience, but what my gut was telling me. And it wasn't easy. And it was the hardest closing, literally closing day at the closing table. And looking back, I won't do that mistake again. If my gut is saying something, I have to speak up for my client, and I have to advise them. At least then in the future, if they say, no, I'm fine, I'm going to continue with what we're doing, at least I can say back later, I told you so. I couldn't even say that at this point, so that it's that.
Got it. So with the mistakes, right? We all make mistakes. Thank you for sharing that one. But you're right. You'll probably never make it again. You mentioned earlier that we started off by talking about you jumping into the business during the pandemic and not feeling hesitant, but just concerned about how you were going to grow your business. Was there any point from that moment forward until today where you had doubt or fear that seeped in?
Every single morning when I walk into this office, I open the door every day when I walk in, and there's this saying, imposter syndrome, like it is real. I walk in, I was like, do I belong here? Do I deserve to be here? Do I deserve to have a desk? Like, what am I doing? Like, do I even know what I'm doing? Every day I have that fear. Still, because it's so early on, and I don't know when it's going to go away or if it ever will go away. But, one thing is I made this life career change, and, I don't have a choice not to succeed. Like I have to. So, and I'm blessed enough that I'm loving it. So just going to make it work.
I love that. That is just such a growth mentality. I mean, I think we all have imposter syndrome, and I also love that you don't give yourself any room for failure. So there is no other option but to be successful. So that's awesome. So being in real estate for almost a full year, what is your favorite real estate experience up to this point?
So before, when I was staging for almost a decade, and I was with my clients the whole staging time, right? Until their house was, until photo day, until styling those pillows for photos. And I walked out, and the next time I came in was to pick up everything when it was sold. But I always had this motto on my website, my staging website, that was like staged to sold. And now I'm finally living that. I'm finally with my clients every single step of the way, from fluffing those pillows and packing up boxes for them to being at the closing table to give them a hug and a congrats. And that for me is the best experience. I'm finally there with them, and it feels amazing to finally be there after a decade.
That's cool. I think one last question to wrap, because we've learned a lot in your experience so far. You've only been in the business 11 months, but obviously you've had experiences before this, and you're bringing that into real estate, which is helping create success. And it sounds like you're learning a lot from others. Is there any singular person or a couple of people that you either try to emulate, or someone that really is an inspiration to you?
Yeah, I do have two. Amy's gonna laugh, but I think I'll say one is more of like a mentor that just believes in me even when I don't, and that's my managing broker, Thomas. I mean, like for some reason he has the utmost faith in me, and you feel it, which is amazing. And then someone like I want to emulate and that I've always looked up to for quite a few years and followed is KJ, Kirsten Jordan, out of New York. She is a successful, hardworking real estate agent, but a mom who is not shy to say that she won't miss a kid's soccer game, but she is 200% showing up for her clients at the same time, and has remained humble and kind and down to earth and it's amazingly successful. And so I follow her. I mean, talk about like starstruck. If ever I meet her, I mean, I would just like cry, just fall apart. But definitely KJ.
That's really cool. Well, we'd like to announce our next guest, Kirsten Jordan. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, right.
Just kidding.
She is also an amazing speed walker. Isn't
Yes.
that like her? She doesn't run, she speed walks. I think she speed walks faster than I run, which is sad to say.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Keki. We really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing, being open, talking with us about your experience in real estate. And we hope to have you on again in the future. And we look forward to watching you as you continue to grow and inspire others.
Yeah, we're excited to see you knocking it out of the park in years 2+. So thanks so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you guys for having me.
And for everyone watching, thank you for joining us. We hope you make it a great rest of the day, getting back into it after Labor Day and seeing what this fall market's going to bring, and not only seeing what it's going to bring, but making the fall market bring it to us. So make it a great rest of the day. We'll see you soon.
Bye, team. Stay caffeinated. Make it a great Tuesday, and we'll see you next week.